Kurt Davies, you're the executive director of the Climate Investigation Center, which obtained the new documents through public records requests that shed new light on the influence of fossil fuel interests on the research of Dr. Willie Soon. Can you talk about what you found?
Well, first to clarify, it is a Greenpeace investigation going back to 2009. When I was there, we started with a FOIA, a Public Records Act request to the Smithsonian asking for any information on Soon's sources of outside income. We knew from 2007 that he was getting money from the Koch Foundation, American Petroleum Institute, and ExxonMobil. So we asked a simple question: show us where he's getting his funding from. We got a spreadsheet back. Then we said, we want to see the communication with these funders. Years go by, we got some email. Then in the email, it showed that there were attachments, there were contracts. We said, let's see the contracts and let's see the proposals. We finally got those. And it is a very rare window into this universe and an amazing moment, actually. Probably the most important investigation that Greenpeace has done on climate denial. What we've discovered is that these contracts are explicit in keeping the funder quiet, keeping the funder secret. In the case of the Southern Company, one of the largest polluters in the country, a massive utility that stretches from Georgia to Alabama to Mississippi, owns some of the largest coal plants in the world and in the country, burns Powder River Basin coal, trains going a mile long go into these plants every day and up into the atmosphere. They want to keep us in the dark about climate change, and Willie Soon is one of their pawns, actually. They're using him, and they're using the Harvard-Smithsonian name to get that word out that there's misinformation, that there's no scientific consensus, rather.
Well, the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics says it's launched an inquiry into whether Dr. Soon properly reported the more than $1.5 million in private funding he received to the journals that have published his research. The center said it, quote, does not support Dr. Soon's conclusions on climate change. But it has previously insisted its scholars are peer-reviewed and vetted by other scientists, saying, quote, this is the way the scientific process works. The funding entities, regardless of their affiliation, have no influence on the research. Your reaction, but also the impact on these journals and the scientific community of these undisclosed donations to Dr. Soon.
Well, we've written all the journals to ask them what their reaction is. This is the key part of this investigation, is that we've uncovered basic conflict of interest in science. If a medical doctor wrote a paper saying, a drug was bad for you and was taking money from its competitor, that would be pretty immoral, if not illegal and unethical, to tell people that a drug was harmful and while they're taking money from the other side. This is what's happening here. This is a guy taking money from polluters to say that greenhouse gases are not the problem. It's actually variation in the sun's radiation that causes the warming we're experiencing. And he's taking money from the other side and not disclosing it in the papers, then telling the corporation, this is what I did for you. I wrote these papers. So
these deliverables.
Deliverables, exactly. Like anybody who's ever written a grant, you have, here are the outcomes of the grant. Here's what I promised to do, with your money. This is a pretty important thing. And Senator Markey has launched an investigation. The House Science Committee, House Resource Committee are looking into it. There's a lot of people who are very concerned that other rules may have been broached. There's the IG's investigation at the Smithsonian, we hope, will look into a lot of things, and we're posting on climateinvestigations.org a piece about what they might ask, the questions they might ask internally.
Do you think he should be fired?
I'm not the judge of that. I mean, if he wants to do his science, if he wants to, go back to studying plasmas in the atmosphere and the sun's corona and whatever he's an expert at, that's fine. If he discloses who's funding it, that's fine. I mean, when he did a paper in 2007 that said was funded by Exxon, Koch, and the American Petroleum Institute, saying that polar bears are just fine and the Arctic is not melting, why are those entities interested in telling that story? It's a pretty simple line, because they don't want us to know that polar bears are in trouble and the Arctic is melting. They want us to think differently about that. So he can go on doing whatever he wants to do. I don't care if he stays there or gets fired, as long as it's transparent and the world knows that he's being paid by polluters.